Hello, this is Lucas. Welcome to another CSS video. In this video, we will be going over the box model. So, the term box model is used whenever we're talking about designing and layouts. Basically, all HTML elements, which is the content, it can be considered as boxes. So, there's 4 stages to like a content that we input. So, the very first one that we have content. Right, this is the actual it's like the paragraphs, the headers, the images that we insert, right, as our HTML element. So that's the actual content. Now, this content, or the div around this content, it only goes up to the inside of our border or the outside of our padding. So that's like our box. And then the padding is just the area around the content. It just gives a bit of space around the content. It's also transparent, so whatever that background is, it will be that background. It doesn't have a color. And the outside of the padding is basically the border around the content. Right? It's just a bit more space. And then we go to the border, and then this just goes around the padding and the content. Right? It's just the border. It's a very nice way to distinguish what is the content and what isn't part of the content. And then outside of that, we have the margin. And this is just like the padding. It gives a bit of space from the content to the border. Right, so it just spaces it out. And it's the same thing with the margin. It's in between the border, and it can be another border, and it will just space it out. Right, it just space out the elements. So we can have a good little example here. So I have this little, so I have 2 divs, and I added a border around those 2 divs. So it looks like this at the moment, right? We have one div here, and we have another div here. Now, you can see that we already have the border. So this black and gray border that we have is just this green border that we have here, right? And the headers and the paragraphs are the content, right? So now let's add a bit of padding onto this firstly. Alright, so we're going to add a bit of padding on this text and on these paragraphs. So what we can do is we can go into our CSS and we can write padding. And we can give, let's say we'll do 20 pixels just so we can see better. And then we'll just do the same thing right here. Now, if we go back to our page, you can see that in our diagram here, by adding padding, you will just add space around the content, but it'll be inside of the border. It won't be outside it. And if you refresh this, you can see that there's no more space added outside of the border. We only add space within the border. So the border is, the padding is inside, and then the margin is outside of the border. And then obviously we can add the margin in. Let's say we'll do 20 pixels as well. And then we'll do 20 pixels as well. If we go back to our page, so padding will add it inside. Now we add margin, you'll see that it'll increase on the outside, just like that. And we actually haven't added it in here. Oh, because we did XP, not PX. I was thinking, why did that happen? And there you go. We have margin added there as well. Now, one thing that I will say, whenever we use padding, border, and margin, if we have a width right here, so let's say we have a width of, let's do a width of 250 here pixels, and we'll just do the same thing here. We have a width of 250 pixels. The width of our element or our div will be 250 pixels. However, we also have to take into account padding, border, and margin. So if I set this as 4 instead of 3, what's going to happen here is our width is 250, but then we added a border, right, of 2 pixels, right, from the left. We added a border of 4 pixels from the left and to the right. So that's going to be another 8 pixels that's going to be added onto our width. Padding it's the same thing. We added 20 on the left and 20 on the right. That means we have to increase this by 40. And the same thing with margin. It's 20 on the left, 20 on the right. So we have to increase this by 40 as well. So that's actually going to be 250 plus 40 plus 8. So we have to take that into consideration whenever we use the width, the border, the padding, and the margin. It actually adds onto the width. Some people think that the width is that's how much everything is, but they don't take into account the padding, the actual border that adds a bit, and then the margin as well. So that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.